John Terry and Liz Llewellyn from the leankit side.
Hi guys. So John, we met at the conference.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Been several
Yep.
months now. Been several months, but glad we able to make the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So
well,
I,
go ahead.
I take it Martin's introduced himself. Do you need an intro from me or?
Well, I would love a little bit. I mean, I can certainly launch into my spiel here, but I'd love to know a little bit about you guys and maybe sort of in particular the kinds of things you're looking for, so that I can make sure to color my presentation in that direction, or fill in blanks that maybe aren't on the slides, that kind of a thing.
Okay, brilliant. So I cover software development, lifecycle management, agile DevOps, cloud native computing, very, very hot topics in this coverage area. I also cover AI, but it's the agile stroke lean stroke DevOps that we're here for. So have we also got Liz on the phone? Sorry, we've not connected before.
Yes, Michael. I'm Liz Llewellyn-Maxwell. I'm a communications director for leankit, and I'm just listening and absorbing, learning from you guys what you're looking for too. So you can kind of consider me a silent participant. Thank you.
And
Actually,
Michael,
okay, over to you, John.
Michael,
Sorry,
I didn't introduce myself to John. Just very quickly, John. I've been in IT at the bleeding edge of IT for about 40 years. Now I work as an associate for Ovum. I basically cover the things that I find interesting and work with the people that I like. And so basically, my role now, I think Michael coined it, I'm basically Michael's right-hand man, helping him out when he's a bit busy. So basically, I'm following and tracking the same things he is.
Very good.
Great.
We will strive. I will strive to make this something you're interested in. Then.
Indeed, good idea. Good idea. Yes.
That's my job here. Well, intros on our side, on my side. So this is I'm John Terry. I'm co-CEO of leankit, and I'm one of the co-founders as well. Stephen Franklin, Daniel Norton, there are fellow co-founders of mine. We are all, you might say, we're all product guys by background, and so we lean towards that side of things. I also kind of handle a lot of sort of market and methodology sides of things. I'm based here in London for the last couple of years because some of our biggest clients are here. We're growing our business here a lot, especially in a particular industry, and I'll talk more about that later. Tim Mulren is my co-CEO, and he and Patrick there are based in Franklin, Tennessee, as is Liz, and a lot of our sort of operations of the company are based there. And I, a little bit of background, kind of how we got interested and excited in this, and how we do, why we do what we do. So Stephen and Daniel and another co-founder of ours, Chris, we were all in the logistics organization of a very large hospital company based in Nashville. And so we learned all about lean as it related to moving stuff. So queuing theory and warehouse management and inventory management and just-in-time order fulfillment and all those kinds of things. And so I kind of came at the agile world very much from a lean direction because I'd learned, lean in its roots, you might say. So at leankit, we do visual management. People who are in the know in the software world call that Kanban, but not all of our customers necessarily do. So we do visual management in general. We mostly do that for software development, IT operations, and physical engineering companies. So when I say physical engineering, that's sort of the design and manufacturing engineering for big companies like Rolls-Royce and Jaguar Land Rover. And we're focused on building visual information systems that help people manage complexity in a way that keeps it simple. We are a SaaS company, so our product is a multi-tenant SaaS. We do some private cloud, but it's all SaaS based. We have about 2,000 customer companies, some names there on the slide. We even though we've got 2,000 customer companies, we really are increasingly enterprise focused. So the truth is we make the bulk of our revenue from maybe 20% of that. So that you might say typical Pareto distribution, 20% of the customers make up 80% of the revenue. And that's definitely an increasing thing for us where we're selling bigger and deeper into big companies versus sort of small to medium-sized business isn't really our thing mostly these days. And we do a lot of our selling these days in conjunction with partners, increasingly so. So partners like Cognizant, Asystem, Altran, and a lot of sort of boutique consultancies in the Agile space that we work with, both for getting us in the door in the first place, as well as helping us with coaching services and implementation integration services, a bigger and bigger part of our story.
Great, very good. Just out of interest, who's your target audience within those organizations?
Within those partner organizations?
Well, within your end customers, is it software, or do you go beyond software into other aspects?
Definitely beyond that, and I'll absolutely get further into that as we go. So that's okay. Absolutely a big part of our story is that spread of things. I'm going to make the assumption that you guys, given what you're tracking, that I don't have to give an intro to Kanban.
Not for me. I don't know, Martin.
No, I'm okay with that. Okay.
Okay. Very good. All right. So we what we are doing is as we're saying is so Agile methods got their start in software development. Initially, this was all about how do you help originally the developers and the testers work more effectively together. Over time, you've looped in product managers and other design people. As you going further, you're getting into the release cycles. But at the beginning, this was very much a making teams more effective kind of an approach. What we're seeing, and you can see this in the growth of scaling methodologies like SAFe, is that this is increasingly not just a team level thing, or even principally a team level thing. A lot of the value proposition is how do you do Agile for teams of teams of teams of teams in an enterprise portfolio is really where the big value is in a large organization. And increasingly, that's about spreading definitely beyond software development into the rest of the IT operations organization. So you're getting into a lean IT sort of a situation, the IT service management, technical support aspects of things, and increasingly spreading out to other corporate functions. So, we are typically coming in the door to our customers through their IT functions, their IT operations functions. But in some of our biggest customers, we have a very large footprint in corporate functions outside of IT, legal, procurement, finance, marketing, all these kinds of things. People who maybe initially get exposed to Agile methods and leankit via their IT partners, but then also realize, wow, this actually works pretty effectively for us for our kinds of work too. So as a branding and focus kind of a thing, we're typically selling into engineers, but we really think that there's a lot of opportunity spreading beyond that. And I say engineers, again, we got our start in selling to software developers. We very quickly and now sell most of our business actually to corporate IT operations. That's the biggest chunk of our business by far. But our fastest growing segment of business is actually physical engineering, which actually the workflows look a lot like software development and IT operations, but instead of doing soft products, you're doing hard products like aircraft engines, cars, power systems, mining equipment, all those kinds of things. You actually have very strikingly similar workflows to software development. In that world, they call it new product introduction, and to IT operations, they call it sustaining engineering or concession processes. But it's actually really, really similar. We think that's an exciting thing about what's going on in the market.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sorry, can I just, so you mentioned that your history was in hospital logistics. Now, hospitals is actually a very interesting area for introducing lean and many other concepts of lean beyond Kanban. And in fact, I think there's a case study that's been done in the NHS on introducing lean. So I'm just wondering, have you addressed those type of opportunities beyond, well, as you said, you're looking beyond IT, but have you looked at hospitals?
We have business in hospital IT and definitely in healthcare companies. We have dipped our toes from time to time in talking with people around using leankit on the clinical side of IT. We have not gone into that in a big way because of the complexities. I think that there's opportunities there, but as somebody who knows all about rolling out software in hospital situations, it's tough and slow. There's a lot of regulatory hurdles. There's a lot of additional security requirements. There's a lot of adoption problems. So I think that there's potential, but it's by far not the easiest market you could go after. So it's not one we've really intentionally focused on. I'm excited for the future, maybe, but that's a tough nut to crack. So our definite go-to-market focus areas are software dev, IT operations, and physical engineering. I think our probably next, like I said, we're sort of organically spreading into the non-IT functions of large corporates, and I think over time we might add that in as sort of a go-to-market thing. But right now we're mostly selling to engineers. We think that's the low-hanging fruit in the selling sense.
Right, got it. Yeah, makes sense.
You got to be careful not to try to boil the ocean, as exciting as all the opportunities may be. So what we try to do as a product is mimic the experience of physical Kanban in an electronic way. So our goal is, if you can do it, with cards in the wall, you can do it at leankit, except you can do it for distributed teams quickly at scale. And so what we allow people to do is very quickly and easily build very large, complex Kanban boards, as complex or even, really much more complex than they could build in a physical card wall, in order to allow them to manage big, complicated engineering workflows. So, whereas a complicated physical Kanban board might have 20 columns on it, a complex leankit board, no kidding. I was in a conversation with a customer the other day, I and one of our sales engineers, where they had over 900 lanes on their leankit board. I'm not saying that that's wise or a good workflow, but
sounds a lot.
But we can support it. So you can build, as many lanes as you want to on a leankit board, with as many sub-lanes and sub-lanes and horizontal swim lanes that have sub-lanes, all those kinds of things. You can expand and collapse lanes on the board. You can filter and search, and things where you can really manage a lot of complexity on a leankit board. People will have, our biggest boards have 10,000 or more cards on them, which again, I'm not necessarily saying that's a wise workflow, but we strive to make it where, the product doesn't say no. We support them in whatever they want to do. And you can build those boards very quickly and easily, and you can modify those boards very quickly and easily. So we're really trying to say, hey, what you would do with cards on the wall, you can do that in leankit for large distributed teams. It's quick and easy to do, quick and easy to modify. It's intuitive, it's simple, all those kinds of things. All the advantages to physical Kanban, but you're doing it digitally.
Right. Now, one of the things that I've seen, which I think is probably now on your next on your next slide, is having hierarchies of Kanbans, especially to manage dependencies.
Yep, absolutely. So you're right. So the starting point is how do you mirror complex workflows at the team level, and actually to modify that a little bit. Even a single board in leankit often is not just a team, it really is teams of teams. And that's why you end up with lots and lots of lanes of cards, because we've got boards with 50, 100, multiple hundred people collaborating on the same board. So even at the board level, you're really talking about quite complex workflows and teams of teams. But absolutely, you still do have a need to go beyond that in a large organization. And so leankit allows you to connect cards together in dependency relationships. So I can link a leankit card together with one to many other cards that are on the same board or on other boards. We are just getting ready to release the capability to allow the same card to have multiple parents spread out the same way. And so, the simple way to show that, like we do on the slide, is a hierarchy, where I've got, a board that has strategic initiative cards. Those link to boards that are portfolio boards, which link to project boards, which link down to team boards, which you absolutely can do in leankit. But what we try to do is not limited to that. So in some products, use a Jira, for example, you can have epics and features and stories, but you're limited to that. In leankit, you're really not. You can do that, but it's really just a network of dependencies between work items, which we think better mirrors the real world in all its messiness, right? And you can even do things in leankit where you can move cards inside other cards and then move them back out. So we've really just tried to say, what could you do with physical cards? We want to allow you to do that with leankit.
Mm-hmm. So just on that question of dependencies, one of the aspects that I've seen, you've got your swim lanes, you've got the continuous flow, but a project manager is going to make a decision that a release is going to mean this, and that story to be delivered into a release. And there's a sort of milestone, there's a date that every team responsible for their component that's going into that needs to be ready. Do you have is it easy to manage that type of scenario?
Yes, absolutely. So you can set dates within leankit, and you can view your work in a timeline view as opposed to a Kanban view, so that you can see how things are scheduled. And when in the parent-child hierarchies that we do, the dependencies that we do, one of the things that we look for is cases where there's a mismatch between the dates set for the parent and the dates that are set for the children. And we surface that on the face of the parent card, so that if I'm a project manager and I farmed work out to several teams, and I have set a date where my project has to be completed within this time frame, and then the teams then set the dates for their work items, and those dates don't match, we surface that up to the project manager on their board, so they can say, oh wait, wow, this is a problem. We need to go in and sort this out. It's problematic. We also can we do what's called planned percent complete, which is reporting on how often planned due dates are hit over time, as you might say, as a trend line. And so we're giving you insight into how often are you actually hitting your planned dates.
Yeah,
so we definitely do that in a number, and there's several other ways, but we absolutely do. The goal is to have teams operating in flow, but we absolutely do know that sometimes you do have scheduled things that you have to manage, and you need to account for that and report on it in all kinds of different ways.
Do you also incorporate some intelligence into the estimating based upon other maybe benchmark tests to see whether? So
you can do based on the flow of work on a board. I can forecast when work is going to be completed. I do that in aggregate right now. We are actually working on new capabilities to embed that into a card, so that I can get looking at a particular card. We already have the data for this, and you can do it in reporting, but we want to embed into the card the ability to say, given the card type that I'm looking at and the lane, the historical time to complete for those cards in that lane, what would we forecast the completion date for this card as? So again, you can already do that in reporting, but what we want to do is actually just plug that into the card, so we're actually giving forecast dates for individual work items.
Yeah, good stuff. Good.
That's absolutely the future.
Well, I know from my own experience, I had 100 developers at one point with 6-7 teams, and the problem was people always overestimating their delivery capability, and the difficulty of actually proving to them that they weren't going to meet the delivery time. So, anything you can do that helps kick that is a useful tool.
Yeah. So you absolutely can do that. We just want to make that easier and easier, and we've noticed a tendency that reporting is like gym memberships. People buy it because they aspire to use it, because they want to get healthier, but then they don't because they're busy, and none of us get to the gym as often as we should, right? So we want to start embedding more of those analytics actually right into the boarded card, so people just can't avoid it.
That's good.
So as a product, where we believe we sit is in forgive me for talking about another consultancy, but Gartner talks about systems of record versus systems of engagement. So we believe that
that was Forrester's original idea.
Okay. Well, so all right, credit where credit is due. So Gartner maybe stole it and popularized it more. So we believe that we are intrinsically a system of engagement, and that different teams. Software developers might use the Atlassian stack or the TFS stack, the Visual Studio stack. Testers are going to use Quality Center. Project managers are going to, they're using Microsoft Project Server or PlanView, whatever it might have. So, within the engineering space, they've got PLM tools. So you've got these systems of record, and those are not going away. However, those tools do not necessarily have very good agile visual management collaboration capabilities to them. And really more importantly than that, the real value in collaboration is not getting your developers to better collaborate with your developers and your testers to collaborate with your testers. It's getting all of those people to collaborate with one another. And so we think that there's a huge value in having a product that can span those systems and bring work together from multiple systems so that you can visualize the collaboration across teams. You can reduce the handoff lag and dropped balls and those things kind of between teams. That's really the value proposition that makes lean and agile at scale in an enterprise truly valuable. It's not at the team level, it's at the teams of teams level. That means as a product, integrations are really important for us. So we have a slate of more than 40 pre-built integrations that we provide via white labeling of TaskTop. I don't know if you're familiar with that as a product. So we resell embed TaskTop as part of leankit. We also have a very robust API that allows you to do application integrations, security integrations, and analytics integrations. Pretty much anything you can do in leankit, the product, you can easily do via integration, and people absolutely do. We see a very high proportion of our traffic in the product happening via integrations. We've invested a lot of effort and energy in leankit as a product in making it enterprise class, really at scale. So I talked about, you might say, the capacity of the front end of the product to handle very large workloads in terms of boards and lanes and users. Part of that's the coding of the front end of the product. Part of that is the back end of the product. So leankit, we've over the last year completely re-architected the back end of our product to run on Microsoft Azure, put in place containerization, automation, automated monitoring, all those kinds of things that allow us to run it at scale. We have put in front-to-back integration or encryption in the product, automated penetration testing, all the kinds of stuff that the users don't care about, but the CTO and the CISO care about a lot. We have redundant data centers in the US and now in the EU, both for global coverage and performance, but also for data sovereignty requirements. And that's just a core part of our capabilities product is being able to serve enterprise class customers. Because like I said, that's really where we make our money from, is accounts that have hundreds, thousands, even up to 10,000 users in them.
Right. I mean, you mentioned automated penetration testing. I mean, that seems like quite a separate activity. What's the scope of that penetration testing?
So we're using, I mean, that's against our own product, not the customer's data. But as we're doing coding in our product, we are constantly rerunning a suite of security tests to make sure that we've not introduced security holes in our product.
Okay, I got it.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're on the cloud, right?
Yep. We right, because we're in the cloud, we've got to be highly secure. That's the only way you can sell when you're in the cloud, is to be good at this kind of stuff, and we are.
Yeah. Do you use an external agency to do your penetration testing, or do you do that in-house?
We do. We have internal security resources that run those projects, but we use external tooling and capabilities to, attack ourselves.
Yeah. Very good.
So a core capability of leankit that people buy us for is analytics. Because you can model your processes at a very granular level, that means you can capture data at a very granular level. And we store in our data warehouse basically not just the data as it is, but every permutation of the data as it has been. And that we just sort of, as naturally we do that, we store all of the event data for all of the things going back indefinitely. That allows us to provide very strong in-app reporting. All of your lean metrics like throughput and cycle time and cumulative flow and forecasting, burn down, burn up, all these kinds of good things. You can do really from any lane to any lane, including or skipping any lane, filtering for data types. It's really very, very flexible in terms of the in-app analytics. We also then have custom reporting that we provide to customers. We provide custom reporting sites via white labeling of Tableau, so that if people don't have that capability, we can provide it. However, more often we are doing that via reporting APIs, where we're feeding into our customers' BI tools, business engine, business objects, these kinds of things, Power BI, feeding into their BI data warehouses. We can also do that just in as simple as an Excel via just a flat export or dynamic export, so that you can do dynamic reporting even in Excel. So it's a key reason why people pick leankit is they want to do analytics, very robust analytics. To kind of summarize the value proposition, why do people pick leankit? This is kind of our summation. It's about monitoring. We allow people to very easily build workflows that mirror what they are really doing, so that they can better monitor it. That then allows the teams to do much more self-management and collaboration, and allows the managers to focus much more on management by exception. And what we typically see is within a very short time, just a few months, simply better visibility and better, call it ad hoc collaboration and management, results in 30% cycle time improvements. Or if you flip that around, 30% throughput improvements. They're working faster and or getting more done. And that's really just sort of time and time again, as you talk to customers, within a very short time, they're getting very nice speed improvements. They then, because you've got the analytics, the ability to measure, they're able to look for where there are bottlenecks, they're able to look for where there are outliers in their process, whereas work unevenly distributed, and by doing those measurements and then modifying their process, because leankit boards stay flexible over time, unlike other products. You can very easily modify a board 2 years after you're using it. We strongly encourage people to do that all the time. They can get, you really see in high performing Kanban teams, you're getting order of magnitude performance improvements. We've seen in some of our engineering clients, projects that used to take years take months, projects that used to take months take weeks down to days. I mean, you really see some genuinely impressive results improvements. Looking forward ahead.
Sure. Can I just come in? Okay, so there's a couple of things. So, organizations clearly need to train their staff. The tool is great, clearly, but if the team is poorly executing, then obviously you're not going to achieve. So
absolutely.
So are you providing training? Do you work with partners who can provide training? I mean, clearly that's a big part of the whole thing. Sure,
absolutely. So yes to both of those things. So we have a partner network, and that is, I'd say, an increasingly important part of our training story, because I couldn't agree more. leankit does not do anything by itself. It is a supporting framework for a change that you're doing as an organization. So our goal as a product is not get in the way of that, but we can't do it for them. So we have a partner network. We generate a lot of content. So our knowledge base, both as for product and methodology, is something our customers look to a lot. So call it self-service training, we are increasingly embedding that into the product so that you get sort of automated training scripts in the product. We provide weekly workshops, both just plain product demos as well as office hours, where customers can join to ask questions and get our advice on how they should do things. We also have the way we organize our teams is in what we call pods, which are cross-functional combinations of salespeople, solution engineers, and customer success managers. And each one of those pods works in a particular geography, industry segment, and customer size segment. And that means those people in that pod increasingly become experts in the type of customers that they serve, which means that when they work with customers, they're not just selling them the product, they are advisors for, hey, what do other companies that are like us in our area do, and how can we get better at that? And we've got what we call a leankit success program, where we actually use leankit boards in our customer's account to walk them through an onboarding process and an ongoing process where we do periodic board reviews. We do webinars. I was just on the phone this morning with a very large customer in Portugal, where we're getting ready to do a round of analytics webinars with their users to help them get ready to do that now that they've got enough data in the system. So yes, partner strategy and in-house expertise and customer engagement, both really key parts of that. I do a lot of speaking at Lean and Kanban conferences about exactly this, the idea that the methodology and the practice is really the key thing. The tool is just a supporting player. Right,
great. My other question is on the Scrum board.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly it's not a continuous flow, but if someone wants to use leankit to run a Scrum team, can they do that?
Absolutely, no question. All you do is treat. So every leankit board is composed of three major sections. Each one of those sections can be subdivided however much you want, but there's three main sections that always exist on a leankit board. In essence, backlog, board, and archive, or not started, started, and finished, if you want to think about it that way. And so for a Scrum team, they don't pull cards onto their board until they're ready. Basically, they pull all the cards on at the beginning of their sprint. They move them across the board to the finish this sprint lane, and they move them off the board once they've done their sprint review. In the backlog, they typically then have lanes that represent their product backlog. So they'll have, in essence, things that they're planning to do the next several sprints, and they just move them forward onto the main board once they're ready for that. We have a burn down chart so that they can do their burn down just like they would otherwise. And they either use our connections capability or they use tagging to indicate which sprint something was, so that they can go back later and look at, hey, what was all the work that was completed in sprint 2.1, 2.2, what have you. So absolutely, right. You can do Scrum and leankit, no question.
Great, because that clearly expands your usability. It's agile and lean.
Yes, absolutely. So that is a very common story in leankit accounts, that you've got teams that are doing Scrum, teams that are doing what they Kanban or Scrumban or mixed methodologies. Really, leankit's a tool for modeling a process, whatever your process happens to be.
Yep, very good.
So in terms of kind of near future roadmap here, we are making change. We already support VR connections functionality and templates in the product. We already support SAFe, but we are adding additional capabilities around connection visualization and even more flexible dependency models, because we want to be even better at supporting SAFe as a model. We have got some things we need to do for some large customers around doing. We allow custom fields within teams. They want us to have, call it sort of standardized custom fields at an enterprise level, so we're adding that. Consolidated view of a user's workload across multiple boards as our implementations get bigger. That's becoming more of a thing. We're doing work in the API layer to make it even easier to do integrations and add capabilities to our existing TaskTop, Zapier, and Microsoft Flow integrations. We are adding new reporting. We've just released new reporting around risk management and better scheduling. I was talking before about the analytics. We call it ambient analytics, is the idea of embedding analytical data into the cards or the boards. That's that sort of showing you the forecast date right in the board. And we've got a slate of work around making that backend even more robust, including more than likely next year adding in a European public cloud instance to mirror our European private cloud instances that we already have. A couple of case studies to give you sort of, how is this working in action. So this is Jaguar Land Rover. JLR is using us in their new product introduction area, so new vehicle design. They used us to design their new I-Series vehicle, which is their first electric car. This is between 1,000 and 1,500 users. I don't know the exact date right now, but each program involves between 100 and 300 engineers. So these are not small teams. These are very big teams, and they were trying to shift to a more agile approach, where they were trying to do 12-week design waves versus year-long design waves, and they were struggling with it because their 12-week design waves were usually taking 15 or 16 weeks. which was very problematic because you're trying to bring together the work of these design groups, and if they're out of sync with one another, you get really bad sort of cascading dependency problems. And it also costs a lot of money if you don't have your design ready to go to production when your production facilities are ready to start. Multiple millions of dollars a day that you're losing if you delay vehicle start. So they brought in leankit and the methodology, absolutely, not just the product. They integrated us with their product lifecycle management tool, Siemens Teamcenter, which is where they keep all their AutoCAD and 3D design models and all those kinds of things. Implemented leankit, and they were very quickly able to get what I talked about, this sort of 30% cycle time improvement, which got their design waves in time. They were able to more effectively load balance their teams. They realized in some cases they had teams overstaffed, in other cases they had teams understaffed.
John, you're breaking up a little bit. You're fading in and out a little bit. I don't know.
Are you hearing me okay now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, sorry about that. The internet,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
What
have you run across product line engineering? Because that's something that we see in that advanced engineering manufacturing, and I don't know whether that's something that you see and whether leankit integrates with that.
We have been used we have some customers who use us on the production line. Most of our manufacturing customers.
No, you faded out there, John.
Actually, I'm getting him fine, Michael. So I don't know. Maybe it's a localized thing.
Is that Martin? I can't hear you. I think it's me.
Yeah, I think it's you.
Martin, can you hear John all right?
Yeah, I can hear John all right. Yeah, very clear.
I've got 4 bars on my mobile, so I'm good. Okay, I've got a message on my chat. Right, you're saying, John, we can hear you and Martin can hear me.
Yeah.
So, it must be me then. All right, well, as long as one of us is hearing you properly,
yeah.
I'll let you carry on then. Sorry, it must be me then.
And I'm recording it, Michael. So.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
We are used sometimes on the production line, but it's more often in the design engineering, the upfront work, or the ongoing redesign work that's required for products, in production. We do think that there's an opportunity. Some of our largest engineering customers want to extend the leankit flow onto the production line in order to speed up communication between production employees and the design engineers. But that would be for, call it low volume, high value products, not for high volume mass production kinds of things. So another use case, another case study here. So this is a very large global healthcare pharmaceuticals product company based in the eastern United States. This is another case where it's between 1,000 and 1,500 users, growing very quickly. They use us in their global technology services group, which is their IT PMO and their IT operations organization. So the people who are doing the implementation and management of the physical hardware in terms of server, storage, network, and so on in their data centers, as well as desktop hardware and the software that runs on those things. So they've got lots and lots of projects to manage all of that work. And they were traditionally doing this in a very waterfall style of project management. But they realized, interestingly, the head of their PMO in this area is married to a consultant in the physical engineering space. And they got to talking about their work and realized that, hey, this work actually looks a lot like design flow work in the engineering space. And maybe they should try that approach. And so they shifted from a waterfall style planning to these projects flowing through boards where all of the technical specialists could get a view of all of their workload at the same time instead of split up into multiple projects. And by doing that, they were able to get much more visibility. It improved their communication with stakeholders. It saved them a lot of time on status meetings and communication of what was going on. And they got some very significant improvements in delivery speed as well. So this is one I got the opportunity to go visit them at their headquarters and talk to people, and it's a very cool story, very successful, that we've really enjoyed. I talked about this already. This is so in terms of a selling model, where we definitely do spread virally, word of mouth kind of a thing. Our implementations often start quite small because you can do, click, start the trial, pay with a credit card and get going. But as I mentioned, we really do make our money from the larger accounts, and we get the small accounts to be bigger by very careful targeting of customers. And these pods, they're organized so that they are experts in their space and can work on growing these customers. We do a lot of our marketing in a very focused way, so that it's not sort of just broad-based pay-per-click. It's much more account-based marketing, where we're doing targeted campaigns into the industries that we sell into the job titles that we sell into, and companies even. So a bit of a picture of our some large customers of ours. We have some definite clustering of customers, where our biggest cluster of customers is in the manufacturing sector, not just the engineering side, also the IT side of large manufacturing companies. We have a very large cluster in manufacturing. We have a very large cluster in financial services, both banking and insurance. We have a growing cluster in the government space, a lot of government in the Nordics, and then also in large technology companies. I think especially you'd say older large technology companies, versus necessarily new startup types of companies. And the common factor in all of those is, as a hypothesis for why we're doing so well in those, is A, they're big, they've got lots of engineers, they have complex legacy products that have to be maintained by a lot of people, a lot of different technical specialties. They have distributed organizations across, large corporate campuses, and definitely distributed offshore development centers in India and Latin America and all kinds of things like that. And they tend to be highly regulated. So they have complex workflows that they can't just wish away and say, well, we're just going to do small teams. Well, no, you've got financial regulatory requirements that actually force you to have pretty complex workflows. And leankit does well with all of those things. Particularly germane in this conversation, we definitely are, even though we are a U.S.-based company, we get quite a significant portion of our revenue from outside of the U.S. It's about 32% of our revenue is from EMEA. That's why I'm physically here, because we've built up a European sales team, and we're seeing a lot of success growing in this space, especially in some of that engineering space and financial services. We're doing very well with that. So that's the end of my spiel. Obviously, we've had some questions along the way, but happy to dig into whatever else you'd like to.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much. So one of the trends we're seeing, a lot of new development, cloud native computing and containerization, microservices. I presume, from your point of view, these projects, they tend to be more agile in DevOps. How are you seeing the market for your tool? Is it growing? Is it steady growth? Is it rising growth? What do you think?
We have grown very nicely over the last several years, and I would say we have grown increasingly profitably. So it's not just growth; it's growth that's sustainable and pays for itself. So yeah, the market is doing very well from our perspective. We think that the as you're saying, the DevOps trend is requiring a lot of additional investment in the IT operations parts of big corporates, and I think it's requiring a lot of investment in stuff that's beyond just break fix, which you might say historically might have just been handled via, I don't know, Remedy or ServiceNow tickets. But these days, those organizations are having to do a lot more project work, and they have to have a way to balance their project work and their unplannable demand that's coming in for break fix. And so that's, often the real need for an integration between a Remedy and a ServiceNow and leankit is so that you can simultaneously manage your fast-flowing ticket work alongside your project work to make your infrastructure more robust. You've got to have a lot more collaboration between your developers and your IT ops people. So for us, the trends are all, very good. And again, that trend out into the business side of organizations where they've got to be involved too. So we think that, there's a lot of arrows pointing in good directions for our type of product and business model.
Very good, very good. Well, we've got a few minutes left. I don't know if you're set up to just take us through the product, just highlight a few features. It's really more detail than we need, but it's nice to just have some of the message in the main course.
Sure. To make sure that it's not vaporware, that I'm describing this fantastic product
I'm sure it's not.
it really does exist. Now, let me, hopefully I can quickly flip over.